So what do you got, Dad?
Okay, listen, on signing in at eBay, I'm curious. I sign in. During the course of the day, I didn't sign out. And they keep telling me during the course of the day, a thing pops up to sign in again. I know it's for security, I guess. But when I'm bidding on an item, and this stuff pops up, and I've got a minute or so, I can lose my bid because of this. Now, I didn't sign out, and they keep asking me 2-3 times a day to sign in. I don't know if this is normal, but I can lose bids on it. If I have seconds to bid, which a lot of people wait to the last minute and bid, and this stupid thing pops up to sign in, I lost my bid.
Well, let me when you when you type in your it'll ask you for your username or your email, and then you type in your password. Underneath that, there's a little box you can check.
There's a little box. They sign in.
No,
signed in.
Well, to the left of that is going to be another little box, and it's going to stay like stay signed in or remember password. It'll say one of those two things, but I believe it says stay signed in.
Okay.
Now, there's a little box next to the word stay signed in. You're going to want to make sure that when you type in your username and password that box is checked off, and then you're going to click the sign in button. So when you click the sign in button, what it's going to do now is I still have the same problem that you're talking about, where if I'm not on eBay for like 2 or 3 hours, and then I go back to the website, because I'm packing orders, and then I go back to the website, and then I go to click on anything. If I click on overview or my eBay, it'll ask me to sign in again. But if you click the keep me logged in on the bottom, it should remember all your information, so everything should be pre-filled in, and all you'd have to do is just click sign in instead of retyping your information in.
Okay.
So I would try that, and if that's not keeping your information, then we can try something else where maybe there might be like a password portion in Windows that has all your saved passwords for your websites, and you could probably change maybe some of the settings in the browser where it'll remember those passwords for you and just put them in automatically and remember it like per site, because mine remembers my PayPal one and my eBay one. All I have to do is just click login if it's PayPal or sign in if it's eBay, without having to type anything again.
I thought maybe for security it would be better not to leave it like that.
Well, it depends. Yeah. I mean, you don't have people using that computer. You don't have multiple users on your computer. So the only security thing you'd have to worry about is if someone broke into your house and got on your computer. But I doubt the first thing they're going to do if they broke in your house is to go directly to your computer and look at your eBay stuff. You know what I mean?
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, when you if you're looking at when you type in your username and then you type your password in, before you rush to click that sign in button, look at a little bit to the left. It's about an inch to the left of the sign in button, and it's going to say stay signed in, or it might even say remember. I'm not really sure because I think
it does say stay signed in. Then below that there's like a little disclaimer that says as long as this is not a shared computer or something, and then don't do it. But I know the box you're talking about.
So click that box and then click signed in, and then obviously try this out when you're not trying to bid on something. But try it out the first time when you're not trying to bid on something, and then the second time you revisit it, try to revisit it before you're trying to bid on something. So if you got something ending tonight, maybe check it a couple hours before that listing's supposed to end and see if it remembered all your information, so that you're kind of ready to go when it's time to get into the bidding war. You already know what your expectations are, and you're not jumping in there, and then you have to maybe unexpectedly have to type in all your information and you lose the listing.
Right.
I just recommend doing a test run with it first, just to see if it saves your information, so you know what to expect when it comes on next time.
Okay. I have another one.
Sure. Yeah, as many as you got. Whatever you got.
When I'm looking on a page to buy an item, one particular item, which got multiple sellers on it, of course, you're picking out the best price. I'm looking at it, and I see a price from a seller, and it says, we'll say, for an example, $2.99 for the item. and I see the seller and I see the item. When I go down maybe 4, 5, or 6 more sellers, I see the same item, and it's a higher amount with the same seller. I see that 2 or 3 times. We'll say like $4.99, $6.49, $7.99. It's the same seller. Now he's got an item all the way at the top that's low. So if you're down at the bottom and you see all these high prices, you're going to go back up again and buy the item that's lowest, and it's the same guy. Is that common?
Well, yeah, because one thing that I know you can't have redundant listings on eBay. So if also they could be, I mean, it sounds a lot like they could also be blanketing a certain zone. So like they could be blanketing a zone between, like, let's say $2 and $4, and they're trying to see where people bite for, because a lot of people might not buy that initial lowest price one. A lot of the times they also change the picture. They'll change the picture, but it'll be the same thing. So like, for example, I bought these waterproof matches on eBay, and they had one picture was of a guy trying to light a match, and it looked like he was camping, and he was like standing next to a river trying to light a match. And then the next picture they had, and this listing was the same one, but it was maybe 10 cents more, and it was just of what you get, just the matches. So sometimes it's the same person with multiple listings, but maybe they're also trying out, which picture helps attract people to what listing, and which price point is an attractive price point for people. What are people willing to pay? Because not everybody is sorting their search results by lowest price plus shipping, and then going to buy it now, and then they're filtering to buy it now, lowest price plus shipping. Some people go on there and they sort by best match or top rated, or top reviews, or whatever other filtering parameters they have for finding those. So it could also.
Yeah.
You there? What do you got? What were you saying?
Well, I'll see it's the same picture. I'll click it, and it's the same describing the details, the same heading, and same disclaimer, and the same details, exactly word for word. So I'm assuming, which I shouldn't, but it's the same guy, same picture, same wording, same details, and the description of the item when they type it in at the bottom is the same.
Is it the same seller is the question.
That I've got to check, but...
Well, what I'm saying is a lot of...
I wouldn't think the same guy would... different guys would do the same thing, 3 or 4 items, 3 of the 4 items all in a row.
Well, that's what I was just explaining, was sometimes they're blanketing a market segment, like let's say between $1 or $2 and $4, and they might be trying out different pictures, and they might also be trying different price points to see where people are biting at. Because again, I said not everyone searches lowest price plus shipping and then buy it now, and then those are their search filters. People are doing other things too. So that would be the inclination, because I've seen it like multiple times, especially from sellers overseas, where you'll see the same item multiple times, and you're like, well, how is this guy selling this? Different price points. Why would anyone go and buy the other ones? But if you go click on them, you'll see that they actually have sold some of them. So what you're talking about is multiple listings of the same item. So you run into situations where sometimes sellers will just be an overarching entity, and they'll own multiple stores and have multiple eBay accounts. So if they have a lot of one particular product, they might actually create other accounts and sell the same thing, but they'll copy and paste the same description and everything. And then sometimes you also run into people who are stealing someone else's listing, and they're basically copying and pasting everything because they're selling the same thing. So there's the copycats too that you could be running into as well when you're looking at the same listing and the same pictures but a different seller. At that point you want to default to looking at their feedback, and you want to see who has the best feedback rating out of the two, and that's usually going to be the indicator of the person who's probably not the copycat, especially if they've been around for a while. you'll probably get the better transaction from the original person because they put the effort forth to make that listing real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other person's just kind of piggybacking off of it and copying the pictures or the description, and they're using that as their own, and it's like basically plagiarizing. I don't know how that they would define that on the eBay marketplace, but I do know that I've had people use my pictures. They've used my descriptions before when they've resold something that I sold them, and I don't know if I see it as offensive. To me, I see it as a compliment. Because me personally, if I put forth the effort to make the best picture possible to represent the item, and I described it the best way possible, because that's what attracted them to initially buy it, and they were using that, good for them. If they're not competing against me with a multiple item listing, then yeah, good for them. If they're reselling it and using my items, because it's just something that I helped create and that they didn't have to redo, because what I provided for them initially wasn't sufficient, that they deemed it as sufficient and they're using it for their own. You know what I mean? So it could go both ways. It could go both ways. You know what I mean? If someone's competing against one of these people you're talking about, and they're selling the same thing and they're trying to compete against them with the same price range, and they literally used all their pictures and descriptions, that would be something where I would probably call eBay customer service, and I would at least report the buyer, or I should say the seller, for these types of practices, and then eBay can actually go back and see who actually posted that picture first in that descriptive listing for that item. And the same thing with the descriptions. They can see when the item was revised, how many times it was revised, when it was revised, and then they'll look at that and they'll say, okay, this person definitely updated this picture after you created this listing, and then you had it on there first, and then they could potentially make that person's listing get removed until they edit it and change the, what they're claiming is theirs.
Yeah, I got a question on that. Then you mean to tell me that a seller could have multiple accounts coming out of the same address?
Correct.
In other words, I have an account, we'll say now, and I open up another one. Meanwhile, on my first account, I'm a stiff. I'm getting negatives. So what I do is I switch my stuff over to the other account. I'm the same guy. I switch it over to the other account, and I pick up, and the other account is gone.
Well,
I thought it don't seem fair.
Are you saying like somebody who's not doing the right thing on eBay,
not
and then
himself properly on eBay? Yes.
Yeah, that happens. And here's the thing, though. What can happen eventually is you have one person who's bouncing around from username to username, and they just keep building up this really bad reputation, no matter what name they're using. As long as they're getting reported to, especially if you are aware that this person's doing that, and you report them, what they're going to do is they're building a case on this person. They're building a file on them, and eventually, they could ban them for life, where they're not able to even get an account on eBay, no matter what their address is. As long as that social security number is associated with that person, they won't be able to buy and sell on eBay. There is ways that you can ban people for life or a certain amount of time where you're not allowed to operate on eBay because you've lost the privilege. So if you just report those people, that's the only way that you could basically stop that, is if they're not doing the right thing, that you just report them. And eventually, enough people will report them, because you get burned by somebody, no matter how bad the severity is, you're going to want to report them because you want some kind of justice. And it might not happen immediately, but it's going to happen eventually. If they're ruthless enough to cheat people like that, and they have to bounce from account to account, then yeah, they're probably the kind of person that's probably not going to change, after they hurt one person. But having multiple accounts, you can get in trouble if you use one account to bid on another account that you have that item, because that's not proper practices. Now, if you get caught doing that, that's serious offense right there. So if these people are also doing those types of activities, that'll be something that'll catch them in the long run as well. Is that if they're bidding up their own items to try to compete?
They're bidding up their items to bring the price up. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. So these multiple accounts they might have, They might be using them to bid up other items. But the thing is eBay, especially if somebody reports it, that somebody's basically bidding up the same account, and maybe it looks extremely similar to the account that they're currently bidding on an item for, or if they go to look at the feedback and the feedback is, the account they're currently bidding on is leaving feedback on the person who's currently bidding, I mean, that looks suspicious, so they might get reported for that. And then again, at the end of the day, eBay will also field, these bids and seeing the bidding patterns for people, and, especially if you have one account that bids on an item and the account basically never pays for it. So another way that they get caught doing this is they'll have two accounts set up. One account will bid up an item, and let's say that they bid up the item beyond the threshold that the other bidders are willing to pay. So they'll bid up the item to a certain point, and no one else bids on the item, and then their second account ends up winning the item. Now, since it's their second account, they don't end up paying for it because they don't pay themselves, and this is just a sloppy mistake that they make, and this is how they get caught. So they don't pay for the item, and then it becomes an unpaid case. They close the case. They work both ends of the deal, but it gets recorded. All the activity gets recorded in their accounts. So that's another way that they get caught, because they're going very lazy with it, and they're not even paying for their item that they're double bidding on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I got another one.
What do you got?
I'm bidding on an item where it says bid, buy now, make an offer. So I'm bidding on an item. I'm typing in the amount. Then eBay sends me a message. You've been outbidded. Or auction ending soon. You're the leader. They'll give me a message. But that messages go right over where I'm ready to type in the amount. And it stops me. If I'm going to bid on an item and I get this pop-up that comes across where I'm going to type in the amount or hit something to buy it, I can't do it.